That is Nick Wright. Did I get a little excited?
No, you were great. It was nothing. It was perfect.
Awesome.
Not at all. I was making sure
We
I
can't
was
re-wrap that,
okay.
so we're just going to keep moving forward. We've got a great 3 hours of television.
I knew you were going to say it.
Two weirdos can touch them. Oh, you all right? Let's go.
Here's what we're talking about this morning. Gronk finally responds to trash talker extraordinaire Jalen Ramsey. Landon Collins is calling out Dak Prescott, but we will start the show with Aaron Rodgers, who had the most heroic of Sunday nights last week, coming back from what we now know is a sprained knee to mount one of the most improbable but seemingly effortless comebacks of all comebacks in a win over the rivaled Bears. Rodgers didn't practice yesterday as the team now prepares for their other arch rivals in the Minnesota Vikings. Still unsure whether he will play or not. Here he is yesterday talking about it.
I don't want to play, obviously, but you're just taking it one day at a time, see how it feels tomorrow, and see how it feels Friday, Saturday, and then hopefully you're ready to go Sunday.
All right, guys, there's a lot to get to in this one, whether he plays or not, what happens to this team if he doesn't play. If he does indeed play, let's move forward as if he is. What will be the key for him against this dominant Vikings defense?
He's going to have to be able to avoid the rush. The Vikings, and this is the constant theme. It's been since Brett Favre took over with the Vikings. I was there. We game planned for him. The game plan, Mike Zimmer and the Vikings, this current regime, is to get that quarterback. And do they have the staffing? Do they have the defensive players to be able to do that? Yes. The key to Aaron Rodgers, get the ball out of his hands. There's a couple things that Mike McCarthy and the staff would have to do for me to be comfortable with Aaron Rodgers playing. That would be, number one is they have to have a heavy concentration on we're going to either run the ball or we're going to throw the ball sideways or short that is going to help the running game. You have to have a tremendous screen game to be able to slow down the rush. And their defense, they got to be able to play good to keep the Vikings and keep the game close. Because if you become one-dimensional, if you back Aaron up 40 times against this rush, oh, he'll get hurt. He's still injured from the Sunday night game, so he's still sore. His mobility, this Vikings defense is not the Bears defense. And I would be willing to say if Khalil Mack had played, if he had been in training camp, Brett, he wouldn't, Aaron, he wouldn't have made it through the second half. Because they could not block him. But when he got a little fatigued, that's when he started getting time. And I didn't like the Bears' game plan the second half. The Vikings, they will blitz him. To beat the Green Bay Packers, the philosophy for the Minnesota Vikings, for 30 years, there is a practice tackling dummy at our facility. And there is a Green Bay quarterback's number on that. It was number 4. When he played there, and as soon as he retired, they put a number 12 on there. So when you listen to the Vikings, they are not going to say much about it. Last year, Barr knocked Rodgers out, but they know the path to victory is to hit that quarterback. They saw Monday's game, and they heard what Aaron Rodgers, when he talked trash last year, thought that it was an illegal hit. Yep. He thought it was a dirty hit. And so you can believe that the Vikings, they believe that they could send a message, just like Aaron Rodgers thought he could send a message to the Bears, that this is my division and I control it.
I'm not certain Rodgers is playing, and I know we're going to get to that. But to answer your question, as far as if he is playing, here are names that matter. Lane Taylor, Corey Lindsey, Justin McCray. Those are the three in the two guards in the center for the Green Bay Packers. Why do they matter? Because when Chris says the Vikings defense isn't the Bears defense, that's not a knock on the Bears defense, but the Vikings defense is better and it is built differently. The Bears were getting pressure on the edge where you had Khalil Mack, you had Leonard Williams, you have guys coming out from the edge. What the Vikings are going to do is up front, Hunter, Joseph, Sheldon Richardson, one of the enormous additions.
He came over from Seattle.
Right. He was maybe Seattle's best defensive lineman last year. They added that to their team. They added on their strength along with Everson Griffin. They can get strength right up the middle. Sheldon Richardson and Linval Joseph, most notably, two dominant defensive tackles. And so what the Packers did in the second half against Chicago was got the ball out quick, right? They got it out quick. They went no huddle. It's hard to get the ball out quick if your center's getting collapsed by Sheldon Richardson.
One thing you have to watch in the game, the skill set for the Vikings, too, over the Bears. The Vikings are one of the best tackling teams in the NFL. The Bears, they don't lose this game if they tackle. Those two big plays that they had, They were everything. That ball didn't travel that far. They ran with those balls. So if you can get those receivers on the ground, and the Vikings, that's what they've been very, very good at. They don't give up big plays. So it's going to be an intriguing matchup because the skill level of these players for the Vikings, they're dominant on the defensive front. They got dominant linebackers, and they have a great secondary.
Let me ask you guys this. If Aaron Rodgers doesn't play and Deshaun Kaiser goes in, we all agree they'll most likely lose this game to the Vikings. If Aaron Rodgers does go in up against this Vikings defense, there's a very good chance he can get hurt even more than he already is, and now that puts him out even further. If you're Mike McCarthy, what do you do?
I allowed him to come in the game. It was more of a chance of him getting hurt in the Chicago game the second half than it would be him going out there healthy. Because one reason is he's adjusted to the injury. He's got a half of football. He knows he can throw the ball on his right leg. So an athlete,
regardless of who the defense is?
The longer you're injured, though, the more you know what you can and can't do. He knows the Vikings defense is better, but he's going to be more familiar with his limitations and what he can do. That's why I think he would be a little more comfortable because he's been with the injury for 7 days and would have made some adjustments.
But this is also where the Packers, and I do not think it's a stretch to call it, a level of organizational malpractice comes in.